baseball lifestyle. It's my lifestyle.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Grounds Crew. As always, Dennis was just making fun of me for it. Make sure you like and subscribe. We appreciate your support. Playoffs. We're in the back half of the championship series right now. And to reference our last episode, things are starting to play out how we had predicted. Would you agree with that?
Eerily so.
Yeah.
And it's kind of to the border of like, is this really how easy it is?
Yes. In the beginning of the series, I was like, oh, like maybe we missed something, or maybe there's more to this puzzle. And now all of a sudden, the Braves are up 3-1. The Astros just took a 3-2 lead after getting washed the first two games. And in the last two games of the series, the Astros have scored 18 runs and Boston has scored 3. And what I'm noticing constantly is when there's runners in scoring position, they are producing in a big way. The Braves doing the same thing.
Yeah. Very eerie.
Very
And again,
eerie.
if you guys don't know what we're talking about, you got to go back and you have to watch last episode where we talked about the clutch gene. We've found what makes clutchness happen and how much it matters, to the point that we predicted, or we said, based off of those numbers, it was going to end up being the Astros and it was going to end up being the Braves. We also said that because of it, the Dodgers were going to advance. And from that moment, they did advance. Now they're getting waxed by a team that has batted better in
albeit being from a very ugly check swing on the way that they got there, but whatever happens. There was other mistakes prior.
What's the funniest part of that entire thing, though? Who's the guy
It was Wilmer Flores.
It was Wilmer Flores, who we
also
talked about as the clutch gene guy.
If you don't know what we're talking about, just go listen to the previous episode and then come back here. You can't watch the first movie without
Facts. You can't watch No Time to Die without seeing Casino Royale.
And yet some of us did it anyway. How about that ending?
Guys, if you watch this show and you're just getting into Bond, or like you were like, oh, that Bond movie was great. It was my second favorite of the Daniel Craig Bond movies. Casino Royale is the wave. And all of the things that happened in that movie, you can't get a real, like, an emotion for without having seen any of the other previous Daniel Craig movies. They tied a bow on the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Every relationship he had, they tied a bow on it. Every little nuance, they put it in. And some people here saw like one of the 5 movies before coming into the final movie and have no idea what the movie was about.
Yes, I have to go rewatch them.
All
apologize.
of them.
It's okay. We'll have more movie discussions in the offseason, I'm sure.
Are you going to see Dune this weekend?
I'm watching on HBO Max. I'm not even going to go.
You're going to go HBO Max?
Yeah, because it's there. I was like, all right.
I saw it too. I know it's coming out tomorrow?
There's been
today on HBO Max.
Today, yes.
Today on HBO Max. But you know what? That movie looks like a movie I have to go see in person.
Yeah, I feel that. Especially with all the reviews, I'm like, wow, they're making it seem like it's
It just looks
legit.
like a banger.
Yeah.
Like the original one is like so awful looking.
Yeah, so that's on HBO Max also, and I almost watched it. I was like, I'm not. This doesn't even look like it's worth it.
And when he fought Captain Picard in his room, which if you guys don't know, that's one of the worst scenes. So like we talked about like why Dune didn't take off and Star Wars did.
Yeah.
And it all comes back to like Dune came out in I think 1984, the movie.
That sounds
right. And 1984 was like the second Star Wars movie or the third Star Wars movie. And you just have these
Dennis on the facts.
We just have these very distinct. This one did a great job, and this one did a meh. Mm-hmm. But Dune's got a cooler whole like premise.
Yeah, the aesthetic also looks really
better.
interesting. Yeah,
like there's a lot here that I'm like, Dune's got to get a wave because like I don't understand the Star Wars hype to the degree in which people have gotten there. Mm-hmm. Like, listen, I like Star Wars. But like Dune's been swept under, and people would tell you that the book is better than any of the books that you would read in a Star Wars universe. Who have read both?
Okay. So
have you read both, Dennis?
No comment.
I gotta.
Dennis, have you read
I'll
both?
Reconsider.
Dennis, have you read both?
I have read a lot of Star Wars, but I have not read the Dune books. Which before you say anything, I have heard that they're great. I'm not going to watch the movie until after I read the books.
Okay.
I'm not that guy.
So again,
watch the movie.
Dennis is a huge Star Wars fan, so he's very upset with what I said. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to I've legitimately heard from multiple people who are fans of both that the Dune book, that's the originator of everything, is better than any of the other books. Like, it's so well, how it's written. Jake co-signed.
Okay.
He's like, my favorite book. So again, I would recommend that. Back to baseball.
And we're back to the baseball podcast. Watch Dune. Let us know how you like it.
Wilmer Flores gets that strike.
Yeah.
They move on. Wilmer's a dog when it comes to hitting with runners in scoring position. I feel like the air has been sucked out of the MLB season, though.
Because the Giants aren't in? Or
no one seems happy with how this is trending.
No, it's because nobody likes who
is going.
Yeah. If the Dodgers are back in, everyone's like, ugh, again. I think if anybody's pulling for anybody, it's the Braves. Just because they've really kind of fought back. They lost Acuna. They haven't been to the World Series since '99. They have a lot of heart. Eddie Rosario's been an absolute monster.
Shout out Pablo Sandoval.
And then he got cut right after that trade too, which I think is hilarious. Great moves, but the Braves trade deadline acquisitions have paid off drastically, like wildly.
Yeah,
and I love that. I think that's great. That the moves that they made, they brought in some great bats, and Eddie Rosario has just been unbelievably clutch.
And we talked about that at All-Star Game, right? Mm-hmm. Like, are the Braves going to be able to do it? And Brian was like, yeah, they are. And I was like, this guy's crazy.
We also were not anticipating the fall off that the Mets had, which is just an outlier.
For sure. But I again,
the Braves had a good team.
But you got to give the Braves credit now. At this point, they're about to push it over the edge.
And the thing is too, and I saw an interview with Adam Duvall about this. They were in the exact same situation last year. The Braves were up 3-1 and they lost to the Dodgers. But the question to him was, does this feel like a different team? Does it feel like you have a different handle on it? And I could argue yes, because like last season, for whatever reason, they just seemed like the Dodgers were never really out of it. Right now, it seems like they're screwed in a big way. They got Max Fried on the bump tonight. Like, the Braves easily could shut the door right now.
I just don't see, like, they have to win 3 games in a row to get it at this point.
Yep.
And like, that's really assuming that the Braves are just gonna roll over. And we've talked, Freddie Freeman's a dog. Like, he can give you at least one game where he's the difference maker.
I mean,
Jock's been great.
The first 2 games of the series, he was 0 for 8.
Yep.
After that, I believe he's like 8 for 17 or something like that. Like,
and then it changes again.
Flip the switch.
And if he's on, it's hard to win.
Yep.
Because he makes that lineup, like, you're scared. Every pitch you throw to him, you have to think. It's a high stress, and we go back, like, so this is a question I guess I'll pose to you.
Okay.
Does the current situation and does the current balance of the Dodgers and how good they've been and where they're at and the fact that they might get bounced here, does it, one, give you more respect for what the Yankees did in the late 90s, early 2000s? 2, is that the greatest dynastic team in the history of baseball?
The Yankees?
Yeah.
Well, I'll start with the current state of the Dodgers.
Okay.
Well, first of all, they just lost Justin Turner for the remainder of the season, whatever that be.
Yep. With a hammy.
Yes, with a hammy. I think we looked at them and said, this team is by far the most talented team.
Yep.
But then all of a sudden, they've got guys moving around every which way. Gavin Lux all of a sudden is playing center field for the first time, and it's the postseason. A.J. Pollock's not in the lineup. Chris Taylor's moving over to third base at times. Like, if you guys were so stacked and so locked in at all 9 positions, why are all these like holes happening? And then you go to the pitching staff, and all of a sudden the pitching staff's failing. And Urias is shot. Max Scherzer looks good, but then the Braves still get to him. Like, what's happening? Why are they unfolding? And it could be, a multitude of reasons, but I do at the same time absolutely have a wild respect for the late 90s Yankees, just for the grip that they had on the rest of the league. Was just like, I wasn't conscious at that time, but like looking back on it and like watching, like my parents had all these like VHS tapes from like their seasons, and it's like, wow, this team was ridiculous.
And my point is, at this time, right, the Yankees won 96, 98, 99, 2000.
Yep.
They lost one World Series in 5 tries. Right?
Yep.
They won 4 out of 5. When you look at that and you see what that really is, I think there's a couple of things that's done for baseball that's I think gotta get reshaped in what belief it is.
Okay.
Because I think there's a lot to unpack with this now, right? With the Dodgers having the problems that they're having now. You can't just buy championships, right? Buying championships was maybe something the Yankees were able to do then. It does not matter now, right? You have a situation where you have relievers that are so highly specialized, guys are throwing so much, the analytics mean so much that just having a guy who's great only matters in the bubble that is the regular season and will bear no result to do they win, right? Because the Dodgers are they've won a lot, right? They've won a lot over the last 7 years. But they have not won as much as they should for what they are. Their pitching staff is by far the most loaded, packed out pitching staff. I know that there's guys missing from that, but even still, what they have left is better than what everybody else has.
Absolutely.
Their lineup, getting Trey Turner and adding it into a lineup that was already good and it was stacked with these high-end contracts and these big-time guys, like, the Dodgers should be winning way more than they are. So when you go back and you see that team win 4 out of 5 World Series in the 90s, I give it so much more credit. Now, I think that the thing that has changed is Derek Jeter was not that good, right? Everybody who watches the show, everybody who listens to this knows I'm here for it because he was on one of the most dynastic teams in history. Everybody at that time is now outsized remembered. Andy Pettitte was a really nice pitcher, right? But he happened to be born at a time where they consolidated a lot of talent that was ridiculous, right?
You know what I think is interesting, too, now that I'm looking at it? Obviously, the Dodgers have been in the playoffs in some capacity for the last 7 years.
Yeah, 7 years.
Right? What is the one difference between all of those postseasons?
Between what?
Between, let's call it 2015 and now.
The difference in terms of what?
What is the one difference between all of the seasons? One simple factor.
Kershaw.
Nope. They only played 60 games last year. And they won the World Series. This year and all the other years, and I would say the turnover on the team itself has been minimal. Like, you have the core guys for the most part.
Yeah.
They get to the postseason, and they were unable to finish.
Yeah.
Last year, 60 games, arms are fresher, everybody's still in a good place. They win the World Series. This year, all of a sudden, down 3-1.
Yeah, listen, I think the whole season, having a long season, hurts everybody and hurts some people more than others. I don't know about how that really would have benefited them so tremendously.
Well, I'm saying now is you're getting to the point where all of a sudden their guys are burnt out. They're not producing.
Yeah.
You're talking about like the bubble of the regular season.
Yeah.
They always play in the regular season. No one disputes that. But then you get to the postseason and they may not have all the time the correct outliers to win, like the Eddie Rosarios, right?
Yeah.
Like things like that.
So again, it's the Buffalo Bills syndrome, right? Like the Buffalo Bills go to 4 straight Super Bowls, win none. Now, does that mean that the Buffalo Bills were worse than the teams they played against? No. Sometimes it's just how things play out, right? One missed field goal changes the outcome of a whole generation of people. Buffalo Bills kick that easy field goal, it goes through. Giants don't have as many, right? The Giants' whole life is treated differently than it is now, right? The remembrance of what their 90s were is different. What Eli Manning did was different. Everything's different based off of that one thing. The Buffalo Bills' whole remembrance of that time. You would have won one. You wouldn't have gone to 4 straight and lost. You would have gone to 4 straight and at least won one. Maybe they come in with more confidence to win each of those games, and they win a couple more of them. Now you're talking about a much bigger dynasty inside the Buffalo Bills organization, and everything's different. And so much of sports is, that small little factor of luck, right? Buckner letting the ball, go between his legs. Like, that changes the whole course of history for the Mets, right? That whole team is looked at differently.
Yeah.
But people will still tell you, right? 86 Mets should have won way more than they did. Should have won way more than they did. Well, why didn't they? Because there's so much that goes into it that's not about the game, right? There's so much that's luck. There's so much that's personality, right? Look, the 76ers right now, right? 76ers are minutes away, inches away, moments away from going to the finals, right? And being able to get there. They lose games, but now you're one of your top 2 players is suspended. You're not even playing him anymore. He's out. It's such a fickle thing.
Yeah.
Which again goes back to say like that 96 to 2000 Yankees, like being able to do it on autopilot the way they did is incredible.
Yeah.
But it also has made Yankees fans spoiled
Oh, absolutely.
because there's nothing like that in history. As good as the Yankees have been, I can look back to those the titles they have when baseball wasn't real, and it was like an extra.
Yeah, like the 30s,
yeah,
40s.
it was an extracurricular activity. Like, yeah, you guys were winning because you were the only one of 3 teams with any money, right? Like because everybody else was playing in random stadiums, and it was just a very different thing. Y'all were the dudes.
Yep.
But since then, and the game has changed. Those 90s Yankees, I got to give them props. Because as good as anything is, that might be the biggest dynasty that we've had in sports.
Being a sports fan in the 90s must have been a good time. You get to watch the Bills dynasty, the Yankees dynasty.
Well,
Not the Bills, the Bulls, excuse me.
I'm an old ass man, so I lived through all of that stuff, right? So you had the Dallas Cowboys and the Buffalo Bills dominated a good portion of the early 90s. Before that, it was the 49ers. And the 49ers ran the late 80s through the early 90s as well. So there was a lot of really great teams. You had Jerry Rice, you had Joe Montana, then you had Jerry Rice with Steve Young, right? So like there was a lot of dynasty with the 49ers organization. And those were great. The Bulls dynasties. Again, I'm a Knicks fan, so like I watched the Knicks get tore apart by this organization that just had this collection of players. The biggest thing though is you say that, but we have dynasties in the 2000s. We have better dynasties.
Golden State,
Golden State Warriors, the New England Patriots,
absolutely.
right?
Tampa Bay Lightning.
The Tampa Bay Lightning,
Sure.
which I don't know, that might be a pickleball team. I'm not quite sure.
Cricket, maybe.
There's winning there. Stranger Things dynasty, like there's so many other dynasties that have happened since then.
The Lannisters.
Oh no! Listen. Things fell apart rapidly.
Yes,
there.
they did. Yes,
things
they
fell.
did.
There were hundreds of years of control that very quickly fell apart. The whole bloodlines were lost in matters of minutes. Yeah, I mean, like the Yankees, though. I would say I appreciate more now that we're getting out from it. Because you're watching teams that are great. You know, it's like the Spurs. The Spurs won like every other year for years. And they've got 5 rings with a collection of the same few guys. That's amazing, right? That's as good as the Lakers with Shaq and Kobe. That's better than, the Lakers with Pau Gasol. The Yankees, though, that team, that like 5-6 year stretch, wow.
Yeah.
Looking back on it now, because the only comp for it is this Dodgers team, and they're worlds ahead of the Dodgers.
Definitely.
Which is insanity because...
Well, that's what I'm saying. The Dodgers have only won one championship as much as they've been in the playoffs.
They win 100 games like every year.
That's dope. Cool.
But that's what I'm saying. Like the Yankees were winning 115 games and then still going on to just win World Series.
Right. That's what I think is more impressive.
Which is why I'm saying when you look at how good teams are, like just the scale of their winning is crazy. But there's a lot of air I feel like out of this postseason.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's mainly because of the teams that are in it. Just kind of like cool.
Everybody hates
that
it's going to be the Stros.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And there's going to be so many people going for the Braves.
Yep.
I want to see the Braves win.
Yeah, I have no ill will towards the Braves. I enjoy watching them. I think I dislike the Phillies more, but
yeah,
even then it's like not crazy of a rivalry for me anyway.
Yeah, I think the team that I dislike the most in the NL East now is probably the Nationals.
I can see that.
But like you didn't grow up with the Glavin, Tom Glavin, Smoltz, Maddox, Chipper Jones era. So like that's why you don't hate the Braves as much, because that was a dynastic.
I mean, I hated Chipper Jones, but Glavin was already on the Mets at that point.
I'm saying that you old man Chipper.
Yeah.
I'm saying like Chipper's daughter's name is Shay.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yes.
in memory of a place that he has fond memories of just constantly winning.
Yep.
You know, so I don't like that. I don't like that. But yeah, I just feel like right now there's not a lot of intrigue to this, which is terrible because I felt like there was so much intrigue for so long.
Absolutely, yes. But we had like the White Sox, the Giants. Like there was just more like question marks, and it was like, oh, what's gonna happen? And now it's kind of, I could definitely see that there's a little less wind in the sails as we come down to the end of the season. And unfortunately, because the way MLB works, they don't really kind of put out a ton of like new news during the postseason, which is fine. I get that. You want to focus on the playoffs and stuff like that. But I imagine that following these playoffs, there's going to be a lot of news stories about CBA, about this and that. Oh, perfect example. Minor leagues, they're getting their housing paid for. That's huge.
Massive.
I love that so much. I don't know why it took this long.
Well, again, I think that part of why it took so long was the fact that there were too many minor leagues.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, for sure.
So
That's
them
definitely
shrinking it down, you knew that there's going to start being more layers that got put into this as things went along. I think housing, and people who don't recognize this, if guys are still getting paid the same that they were getting paid before, but you're now going to provide them housing and food, right? Mm-hmm. Then none of these guys are going to need to stop being pros.
Yep.
So there's going to be a lot of changes to what that is. Mm-hmm. The other thing that I've seen them do a lot better job of is Arizona Fall League is being promoted a lot better right now.
Oh, yeah.
Than I feel like it's ever been promoted.
Yes. And I think some of it has to do with, like, obviously there's always big starts in the Arizona Fall League. The guys that you know are going to be in the league very shortly. But I think a lot of them have good social media presence. A lot of them were in the futures game this year. Yep. And it's you're seeing all these guys are. We got Brett Beatty's being an absolute monster. I look forward to seeing his butt.
1,400 OPS right now. No big deal.
Yeah, he's legit. But yeah, I think they're doing a great job promoting it. And like now, everyone like like Julio Rodriguez, Adley Rutschman, like the guys. Yeah. But you're getting to see them a little more. They're more on social media because they go to their minor league teams and you don't hear about them really. Like, yes. You don't get to see them anywhere. And
well, so we've talked about that in the past. Like guys get lost when they get drafted, and you forget about them. Mm-hmm. By having less minor systems, it's easier to keep track of where a guy is. Right. Right. Once he gets to A, there's only A. Right. We're in instructs and then we're in A ball. Right. And then, like, the low A is not really a low A anymore. It's a very different kind of, like, spring.
It's borderline instructional league, yeah.
Right.
It's mostly practice.
Once you're there, there's really only these three main levels, and there's less that's going on inside of it. So I feel like it's now easier to track who is really a player and who's not. Mm-hmm. But that then keeps guys in the consciousness a little bit longer. But now I feel like, especially with how well they're promoting on social media, what's happening with the Arizona Fall League and like what they've put into it, the guys who are, like you said, anywhere between next season, middle of next season to September call-up level are all playing together right now to find out who are the studs. Yep. Right? And it's happening during the playoffs where there's less other baseball. So they're just a much better job of developing out that side of the game.
You know what I think it is, too? A lot of those guys, people anticipated being September call-ups this year. And it was like, why aren't they being called up? And then, like, people were kind of looking into, all right, who else was supposed to be, like, the guy in every organization? Now they're all, like, being in the fall league, and you're hearing more about them. And it's like, all right, cool. If anything, it's not that bad of a thing that they weren't called up because I think next year there'll be even more hype to get them in the league and people more following them and seeing what they're doing. So
yeah, I hope so. Again, I think that the September call-up issue, right, just boggles my mind this year. Yeah. I felt like there just wasn't – no one was brought up. It felt like barren across the league. Yep. And
there were so many teams, too. It was like it makes perfect sense. You guys are not in it. Get Adley Rutschman in the league. Why is he not here?
So we can control another year.
Yep. And like especially with CBA coming up.
And that's my point. Like you put a worse product on the field.
Yeah.
So again, I like that the league is promoting these guys a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
My sense that I don't like is that the MLB owners are trying to monetize the young guys better before they have to pay them, right? Which really, if people start watching more AAA and AA baseball, it's just helping the owners of the organizations offset costs.
Yeah.
And these guys are still getting paid peanuts, right? So, like, they're not making any money. They're not doing anything else. So, like, I hate that too. The only thing that's going to solve it is what we talked about a few episodes ago. 5-year contracts, guys can move on and make the minors legitimate. You know, then you'll have player movement at the minor league level. GMs will have to do more. It'll function more like the Atlantic League, where guys are really, trading teams, trying to position themselves on a roster that gives them the best opportunity to showcase and develop. I hope that. But speaking of Brett Beatty, the Mets can't find anybody who wants to run their team.
Yeah, that's crazy. I know an article just came out on why Billy Beane is choosing not to do it, and it makes perfect sense. He's got a family in Oakland and doesn't want to leave them.
I feel like, did no one watch the movie? Like, did they not? Did they not notice Dad turning around the car and not going to the Boston Red Sox? Did everybody miss Brad Pitt going home and turning down the Red Sox job? Like,
that's why. And I saw people trying to get Pujols to go back to St. Louis. I was like, he's not going there. He spent 10 years in L.A. He's not leaving his family. Like, you got to get it. At some point, people aren't doing that. If the Mets are gonna pull anybody in, it's got to be either somebody younger, because they're going after guys who are in great positions already. Like Theo Epstein doesn't want to move. The guy from the assistant GM for the Brewers doesn't want to go anywhere. He's in a great spot, great team. But it is also mind-boggling because I don't think coming into the Mets job, it's not going to be that hard. You have unlimited money, and you can the pieces that you need are relatively obvious. You could sit here right now and GM the Mets, and you probably make the right decisions because there's not that many to be made.
So, I mean, is this my official petition for me to be the GM of the Mets? Because I'll take the job. Right? I'll do it for cheap as well, as long as I get to run the podcast once a week out of my office. Listen, I get you. I think the downside that everybody has is it looks like the Mets job is a premium job. Mm-hmm. The downside is there's a lot of organizational chaos that still exists internally that's got to get weeded out, right?
You think Sandy's part of the issue?
I think Sandy's got to F and go.
Yeah.
I think they got to wipe it.
I think that's everyone's kind of, pointing at different things.
But how do you move on from Sandy at this point? Nobody wants to take the job. Sandy doesn't want the job. Sandy's hired 7 guys to do the job so he can do something else and just get paid money to not be that guy. Mm-hmm. And he's being forced to also be that guy. He's I just don't want this. Why does no one want it? I think the Mets job is a lot funkier than people think. Mm-hmm. You have to make a decision on Baez. You have to make a decision on Stroman. You have to make a decision on Syndergaard. You have to make a decision on Conforto. There's a lot that's going on where you're having to decide big money deals, big decision-making things that can go right or left, and you're walking into a CBA that is an unknown. Mm-hmm.
That's why I got it is question marks, but in the bubble of, let's say the CBA goes through smoothly. Yep. I feel like there are like you're saying but at least the decisions that have to be made. Do you pay Stroman, yes or no? I mean, you're going to send a qualifying to Syndergaard probably. Yes. Do you pay Conforto, yes or no? Probably not. I'd probably go after somebody else.
My deal is no.
Yeah. So, and do you extend Baez? In my opinion, yes, absolutely.
Do you trade McNeil?
Yes.
Do you trade J.D. Davis?
Package him for a pitcher, probably.
Do you trade McCann?
Not yet.
Right?
Francisco's not ready. When Francisco's ready to be on a
big league
roster,
I don't think it's just Francisco.
But I'm talking about in the line of succession of our catchers.
Tomas.
That's what I'm saying. I think you keep McCann and Tomas. I think that's fine.
But if you had Tomas and what's his name, Mazikas? Patrick Mazica, right? You could get by. Is that your premier thing? No, you're gonna get Tomas in the lineup a little bit more, right?
Don't get me wrong, he did perform when he was in the lineup more,
yeah,
which is great. And he's a great defensive catcher, no question about
that.
that.
I think, had a down year. I think he's better than the player that he is.
Yes.
But also at the same time, we're seeing that Alvarez is going to move fast. He's going to be a rapid mover next year.
Yeah.
Right? Because he's going to start off in Double-A. He's not going to start off in High A again. He's going to start off in Double-A. If he starts off in Double-A and he hits, he's going to be brought up. I don't even know if he needs to go to Triple-A at that point.
I just don't want to have a Gary Sanchez situation. Because from what I understand, he needs to work on his defense a lot.
So let's pull this back. Let's unwrap this whole thing.
Okay.
Would you take a young Gary Sanchez situation?
Like, what, hitting just nukes and
What was Gary Sanchez when he first came up? Because I think everybody's remembering Gary Sanchez now, but younger Gary, younger Gary was a
phenomenally
problem
for sure. But his defense was even worse then.
Right, but I'm with you.
2015, no, that's a lie. 2016, he 53. Let's go full season. 2017, he had 122 games.
No. Give me 2016.
Fine,
because that in my head is what I'm saying is that he would play half the season.
50 games. Okay, cool.
He'd play half the season in Double-A.
He batted .299 with 20 home runs, 42 RBIs, and a 1,032 OPS.
And then the very next year, he was the full-time guy.
Mm-hmm.
He was an 876. Then he got hurt. Then 2019, he was an all-star again, had an 841. Since he has not been able to play the way that he wanted to.
Yeah.
What does that coincide with? Judge and Stanton playing DH more often and him having to catch more. And my point is that the National League is potentially going to get a DH position in the not-too-distant future, right? Young Gary was never the level of prospect that Francisco Alvarez currently is.
Mm-hmm.
Alvarez will be his age 20 season next year.
Yes, I believe that's true.
If the Mets are not killing it at that spot, what are you holding him down for? He hit 27 home runs or whatever it was this year?
Yeah, something ridiculous.
As a minor league dude who didn't play a ton of games? He had 24 home runs and 327 at bats. A typical guy, let's say, gets 500 at bats. That means he would have been on pace for 40 home runs or more.
Yep.
Right? So 35, 40 home runs. At catcher, we're talking that he's, top catcher in the league. He's that guy, age 20, age 21.
Listen, I'm not disagreeing with you. If that's what his bat is at a major league level, glorious.
See, that's why I think Mets fans wouldn't want me to be the GM. If I was the GM of the Mets, I'd go full rebuild. Okay. I'd go mini rebuild. I'd let it get gutted this year. Right? Mm-hmm. And then I'd use this year as the ability to find where do I have young studs so that I can then go and attack known weaknesses.
So then would you move all your young studs to AAA so that they're at
They're already there.
Well, okay, so fine. Let's say Beatty and Vientos are
Vientos, and Khalil Lee will all be
AAA
at AAA next year.
Sure, and then
so that's a left fielder, that's a third baseman, and a center fielder. So where are we weak? Where do we have openings?
What you just said, pretty much.
That's my point.
Yeah.
I don't know why I wouldn't just say, if these guys hit in spring training, I'm fine. Vientos was a stud at AAA. Khalil Lee was a stud at AAA. Mm-hmm. Beatty's the only guy who doesn't have AAA experience. That's why he's the guy who's right now in the Arizona Fall League. Because they want to see him competing against those guys who are all AAA level to see what's up. And he's smoking them all, right?
Yeah. Yep.
He's got 444 batting average or something like that. And he's smoking the ball. So he's showing you that he's that guy. Cool. I'm going full youth. Vientos, Beatty, Khalil Lee, they're in my lineup next year, and I'm moving on from a whole bunch of cats. Conforto can go wherever he's going to go because he could be part of a solution, but he's not going to be part of mine. Mm-hmm. That's the thing, right? Math is funny, right? 5 + 5 and 2 + 8 gets you to the same point, right? So I don't need to do it only one way. I can do it a whole bunch of different ways. So if you look at me and you say, well, how are you going to move on from a guy like Conforto who's been one of your better hitters?
Very easily.
If he walks, we get a first-round pick if he signs somewhere, potentially. right? If he walks and he's a first-round pick for somebody else, great, right? At this point in time, do we also have the first-round pick for
We have 2
Stroman?
first-rounders this
But I'm
upcoming
saying,
year.
will we get a first-round
Ooh,
pick for Stroh?
That's a good question.
I think we get the first-round pick for Stroh because
Possibly, yeah.
he played
But I also
multiple.
don't want him to go.
Well, so I am okay with Stroman going.
Eh.
I'm with you. I like his personality. I like
Oh,
everything
not even
else.
that. For his skill set.
But his skill set, to me, he's an early 30s pitcher, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who is really, really solid. But if his velocity starts to fade, even a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
the things that he's good at are going to get worse more rapidly than guys who have a little bit more juice on their ball, right? So he doesn't have a lot of room to play in the back half of a contract. Secondarily, what's he going to ask for, right?
Yeah.
Is he going to ask for borderline?
He's going to ask for like 25 probably.
Ooh, more
Are you talking
Per
Stroman?
year?
Stroman.
I
per
have
year?
so right now he's asking for 5 to 6 years worth, $25 million annually at the minimum, and there's no draft pick attached to him.
Okay.
Cool.
So the no draft pick attached to him is sad.
Yeah.
I don't know why they don't have a draft compensation for him when he's been there. Like,
Did he get traded to us?
yeah,
Okay, so then maybe that team, maybe the Blue
No.
Jays held it?
they don't.
Then just
Nobody gets it. It's
Okay.
gone. It's washed then.
Okay.
But like typically, I know that like Javi Baez, we wouldn't get anything for if he left. But that's because we got him halfway through the season. Stroman, I thought that like
It's probably some weird
having him for
loophole.
multiple years. Yeah, I don't know how that would work out.
Yeah.
But
We already have 2 for this upcoming year. If we
Yeah.
lose Conforto, that's 3. Like we're
that
gonna be
and that's my
stacked.
thing. So like, then the question becomes, what's the deal with Dom Smith? Right. So like in Billy's world, if we're running this all the way to the moon on what we want, I'm moving on from Dom Smith too.
So who's your DH?
My DH JD Davis.
Okay.
I'd rather keep JD and let him DH because I think his bat is more violent and more dangerous at this point in time than Dom Smith's.
I can see that.
And Dom had a great year, but even when you comp his year up against a good J.D. Davis year, they're very similar. And I would rather have the defensive versatility of J.D. Davis being able to play infield at third base than Dom Smith's versatility of
Left
and
base.
first.
Yeah.
Like, I just feel like it's easier for me to – McCann can place him first.
You can.
The only thing is Dom being a lefty bat helps
Yeah.
for balance, but I feel like Conforto's a lefty bat. Like their bat's just not performing though. It doesn't matter if you're lefty, righty. All that stuff doesn't matter if you can't hit. Our infield is great if we return Javi. So that's my point. Like I think if we gutted it, and the DH was JD, the third baseman was Beatty, the left fielder was Vientos, the center fielder was Khalil Lee, and right field was Nimmo. I'll go with that lineup for next year, and I'll
It's definitely a gamble.
I'll dance with the devil. But is it?
I think in a lot of people's eyes, yeah, just because purely out of youth.
If the infield and Nimmo hit the way that they did in the second half, the Mets will be a good team. Because Pete Alonso is still there. Javi there full season. Lindor from the time just before he got hurt till after he came back was the Lindor we all saw. Right? 900 OPS guy.
Yep.
Third base, you can call it Beatty, but you just say our DH is JD, right? That's now 4 legitimate hitters. If McCann is still there, right? At one point in time, he was one of the top 10 hitters at his position, right? Nimmo is still a guy. You're not talking, you have 5 or 6 positions that you have known quantities. Khalil Lee had a 950 OPS in a full season at AAA. He's a former high draft pick. He is in his early 20s. I think he's 22.
Something.
Maybe
yeah.
23. Dude, I got to see what he is. And I can't just give him 25 at-bats. I got to give him 300. Because we talk about it with J.D. Davis. J.D. never got a lot of at-bats. You couldn't see what he fully was. He finally comes to the Mets. He gets a lot of at-bats. He shows that the guy I was in the minor leagues is the guy I am. But I needed to figure it out. I need to be given time.
I would argue one change to your lineup.
Hit me.
I would not go with J.D. Davis as my DH. I would use him as a trade piece, and I would sign Castellanos. And then
You want
I
Castellanos
want him so bad, but hear me out. Then him and Nimmo alternate as a DH, because then you still have Nimmo in the lineup, and if he's not DHing, he plays right field, and Castellanos has been injury prone in the past, so you kind of have that little flip flop there. Beatty still gets to play left field, and I prefer Castellanos' bat over JD.
So, like, to me,
If we're talking about making like one major signing,
so this is my point, right? Why would you make that signing if we were going to go this route?
because I think he has more upside than JD by a lot.
But, like, my point to you is, do we know, like, we have no idea what the upside of the three guys I'm talking about is, and we still got Francisco Alvarez and Ronnie Mauricio in the pipeline, right?
That's fine.
My thing is that we won't know what any of these guys have unless we're willing to sacrifice the 7, 8, 9 hole in our lineup.
That's
and
fine.
we talk about
Do that.
Villar bats whatever he bats, but runners in scoring position, he batted 150. Like, why is that guy getting at bats over Khalil Lee? Genuine question.
The easy answer is just because of the contract situation. You don't want to call him up and then have to lose a year on him.
But that's the thing, right? If you don't bring him up and you're willing to just see a guy for a year, you never even know what you have.
Listen, all I'm saying is Castellanos batted .309 with a .939 OPS.
I am not saying that Castellanos is not an amazing player, and I know you want Castellanos, and I know you want to open the purse strings and get after it.
Listen, I'm totally fine. If we're using your plan of let's be conservative, but also let's get our youth up here and figure it out if those are our guys, and that's the cheap end, right? Like, that's the cheap version, and then they're in the league, and they can figure it out at the big league level, and then all of a sudden we're a dynasty for the next 10 years because everybody's a god.
Okay.
I think he's a good, like, if we're going to move, like, have certain veteran guys in certain places.
So then your point is that instead of J.D. Davis staying and being a cheap DH option who costs $4 million to have a 900 OPS, we're going to pay $30 million to have somebody have a 930 OPS.
What did JD have this year?
Probably like 850 to 880.
Can't spell.
Making $2.1 million this year.
What was his OPS?
I'm working on it.
We got two guys racing for the OPS right here.
OPS was 820. 285 with 20. No, that's a lie. 285 with 5 home runs.
But how many games did he play?
In 73 games.
So he was hurt, and that's one of the bigger things that pulled him down this year. What was last year in the shortened year?
761 OPS, 247, 6 home runs.
And then what was the year before that?
895, 307, 22 in 140 games.
So the year that he got 140 and was healthy, right, he's a mid-800 OPS guy, and he costs minimal. Now, I'm with you. Castellanos is a better player, right? 100%. My only downside for it is I just don't see the Mets as being a World Series team next year.
That's fine.
Because there's too many what ifs.
I've seen a lot of predictions saying 2023 is when we'll be the contender.
So with that, I'm sacrificing my pawn in 2022.
So that's even more so why I say get Castellanos, because I think the free agent class after next year is going to be very weird. It's going to be like some pitchers, all the big shortstops are gone, like Ohtani, I guess. Like, if you want to go that route, sure.
Take Ohtani 2-for-1 deal.
We go back to your previous trade. Send the moon for him.
Listen, I send all the guys I'm cutting right now.
So would you? I think you had some of our big prospects in there. So you bring them up, they do great their first year.
Yeah.
Trade them for Ohtani?
No.
There you go.
But that's my point. Like, right now I trade all the guys because I don't know what they are. But, like, without us knowing what they are, we're stuck in this like weird ass world, right? Like Wander Franco, like everybody assumed was the guy, right? But you had to bring him up. And they brought him up in the middle of, they were the number 1 team.
And he is, in fact, the guy.
But he got to go through some lumps. Jared Kelenic has gotten to come up and just be a guy on a team. And they almost made it. Because the reality is that we talked about it. Like, if a guy comes up with running in scoring position and his batting average for the season is 220, but when he has runners in scoring position, his batting average is 280, the guy is going to produce for me and we're going to win some games.
Yeah.
If I'm looking at the back end of my lineup, I'm so damn top heavy, right? Like, how many teams in MLB have a better big 4 than Nimmo, Baez, Lindor, and Pete Alonso? Stack another team's 4 guys who are better than those. So who are the 4 guys who are better?
Let's say Turner, Muncy.
So Turner, you already got me.
Which Turner? That's the other question.
Trey.
Okay.
That's fine. Trey, Muncy. Okay, I lied. Seager's gone next year. I could say Justin Turner. Cody Bellinger doesn't count anymore. He's been playing like shit. Let's go with...
And Max Muncy is not better than Pete.
He was an all-star this year. That's all I'm saying.
Right, but he's not better than... All I'm saying is he's not better than Pete.
Sure.
He's not better than Pete.
Fine.
He 249 batting average this year, 36 home runs. Right? Pete had more home runs, better batting average. And he was bad to start the year.
Big 4.
Lindor, I'll match up
Maybe
Lindor
the
against
Red
Turner.
Sox, Astros, but the Astros are falling apart.
The Blue Jays, I would say.
Blue
are the
Jays,
Blue Jays.
yeah.
So I'll tell you, the Blue Jays are the team with the lineup.
Yeah.
But my point to you is that those top 4 that we have match up against almost everybody else's top 4.
It
right?
plays, for sure. Yes.
At that point, sacrifice the back end. Don't bring in the $6 million, $8 million veteran. Just bring up a young dude. Because I don't know. I could pay a guy $500,000 next year who could be Wander Franco. Like, if Brett Beatty is David Wright, what are we talking about?
So, what do you think is more the fear there? A, being you lose their service time, or B, that you, quote-unquote, ruin the player from bringing them up too soon?
I think it's the service time.
Okay.
I think the bigger fear, and it's the inappropriate fear, is that teams are afraid to lose an age 27, 28 season to free agency.
Yep.
They want to have you until you're 30 because they've now gotten 3 out of your 6 prime years without having to give you a new contract.
Right.
So in order to get there, I got to bring you up as close to 23, 24 as I can in order for me to control you for as long as I possibly can. So I'm trying to get to age 23 seasons with guys. So when I have a guy like Brett Beatty who's going to be 22 next year, right? He's 21 right now. So I have a guy who's going to be 22 next year. I'm looking at that and go, if I keep him down one more year, I then bring him up. I then will have him till he's 29. We'll sign him to a contract when he's 29 instead of having to sign him to a contract at 27, 28.
I also don't know if bringing in a new GM, if they're going to want the responsibility of bringing up all of our big prospects, because that comes with like...
That's why you make me the GM, because I don't care, right? Like if you're looking at this and I'm relatively smart, I can handle this, right? We're going to come in. You can just hang anything you want to on my neck.
Oh, so you actually...
But if I win like a mother effer, if I win like... If this turns out that I'm playing chess and I'm playing 3D chess and y'all are playing checkers, then I'm the GM for life. Like I'm here. I get to
Cashman this thing?
I get to do whatever the hell. Yeah. Well, so if I take these risks and they pay off, right? And we shoot a shot and I bring up a whole bunch of young dudes and I flip the script on the whole league. Are players in the organization going to love me?
Of course.
They're going to love me, right? Because I went against the grain. I did everything player specific. I'm a player's GM. You're great. Oh, you're 20? You're great? You're up. Oh, well, that's a dumb move by the GM. Why? Because I lost service time 6 years from now? Are you drunk?
And
Like,
who
I'm going to
even
win
knows?
now. You know what I'm going to draft? for the next 6 years, I'm going to draft a first-round pick every year. And if I'm good again, if I'm good at my effing job, and I'm good at developing, you know what's going to happen when that guy becomes a free agent? I should have somebody who could replace him. Mm-hmm. And if I don't, I suck.
Yeah.
Guess what? All the GMs in the league suck. It's why the Rays are about to do the reset button again.
Yeah.
But they're gonna be 18 months later. They're gonna be the dogs.
That is a perfect point. Okay. You only really hear about the GMs who are constantly being active, not passive, in their moves. An AJ Preller, I forget who the GM is of the Rays. That guy, the Red Sox GM.
Yep.
Like the guys who are making the moves, going out, getting the right guys all the time, constantly. There's a reason you know them, and everybody else is kind of just like slowly playing this bad game of chess.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Well, like everybody, we know Brian Cashman, right? Because he won a whole bunch of shit back with this dynastic team.
Yep.
He's still living off of the team that he assembled by luck, by chance to some degree, right? Like, so I was thinking about this the other day, right? How good are coaches in the NFL? Like, what's the real difference between this guy and that guy? Because you really start to get to it, and it's the damn quarterback, right? Patrick Mahomes is a really good quarterback. What the player everybody thought he was is a lie. It's proving out this year it's a lie. Well, his tight end's gotten older, right? He's the running game where he had Kareem Hunt when he was young. That guy's gone, so the running game's not the same. And now he's in a position where his offensive line's not elite. And it's like, oh, wow, he's making a whole bunch of mistakes. He's throwing the football. Who does he look like? He looks like the ghost of Josh Allen. Well, when he was young and everybody was like, oh, he's transcendent. He had this team. The team went 12-4 the year he was a rookie. He played one game that year. And then he took over that team next year. Like, the Chiefs, the year they drafted and traded up with the Buffalo Bills to take Patrick Mahomes, they had the 26th pick because they were a good-ass team. Like, so you walked into this great thing. So was the player great? Is the GM great? Who was great? The answer is the GM of the Chiefs was great because he saw what he had built. And he said, I can shoot a shot.
Yep.
And now I'm going to get a better player, and when he goes into this mix, we're going to win a Super Bowl. And they did. You've won. Now you got to reset, reload, do it again. Right? Mm-hmm. Mitch Kupchak, who ran the Lakers. He lost Shaquille O'Neal. They won 3 in a row. Friction between him and Kobe. Shaq leaves, goes to the Heat, wins a title. Kobe can't win. They had to reset, reload, and turn over a team built around this Kobe. Not Kobe and Shaq. Then they won another 3 titles. You killed it. Yeah, you had a great player. You had all, but you lost this whole. Imagine if Jordan lost Pippen after the first 3. He never would have won again. Not a single time. We wouldn't look at him the same. That's where the world is just so much about your circumstances, how you put it together. So bringing this back around to like the MLB, everybody's afraid because they're making decisions on not losing their jobs and not win the effing game, right? Like, as someone who wouldn't care if he lost the GM job, I'll go do something else. Like, think about, like, who was a bad coach in the NFL?
Adam Gase.
Right? No, he's the worst coach in NFL history.
Sorry.
I'm saying, who was a bad MLB? And I'll stay with the Jets, right? Eric Mangini.
Okay.
Right? Was Eric Mangini a good coach? No.
Not really.
He took over Herman Edwards' team, right? Had a little bit of early success and then faded because he didn't know how to do it by building it up. What's Eric Mangini do now?
No clue.
He's a commentator, right?
He goes on Fox Sports 1 and he does segments every week, gets paid money to talk about football. As former head coach, hey coach, like, so if I lose the GM job, Steve Phillips, who ran the Mets, like, he was on baseball shows for years after, bro, I'll be on TV. I have a podcast. Like,
that's what I've seen also is like why people are scared to take the GM job for the Mets is because they're saying if you goof in New York, you're just never gonna get a shot at any other GM job. So fine, if you don't want to be a GM,
bro, play to win and that's my thing. It's like too many of these guys are like, yo, like, and I get it, I understand. Like, you grinded to get to the top. You've done all this stuff to get yourself in position, right? And you've got two different choices to make, right? Number one, just don't fuck up. Number two, try to do everything you would to win. Almost no one takes the second option. That's why, again, Buffalo Bills fan, Big Baller Bean, right? The GM of the Buffalo Bills has done everything right. Drafts in the third round, Devin Singletary. Singletary is a stud. Looks incredible. Wow, the Bills really they put one over on the NFL. Very next year, Zach Moss falls to him. Too good of value. Take him too. Well, you have too many guys. Well, yeah, but you know what? Now we have two running backs who we believe in, so it doesn't matter. We'll never have a problem where we won't have a running back. We've double dipped on the whole thing. Wide receiver. They just traded for Stephon Diggs. They got Cole Beasley. They got John Brown. They still draft two wide receivers in that draft. Right? Like, you look at how they have safety. Jaquan Johnson's a backup safety for the Bills that nobody who's listening to me right now even knows who he is. Right? He stepped in because Jordan Poyer missed a week. Mm-hmm. Picked off a ball. Killing it. Stud. Was a 4-year starter in college. He's been waiting in the wings for 4 years behind two Pro Bowlers. He comes stud. Like, that team is developed, is doing it the way you would do it. They traded, they had the 10th overall pick. Somebody was like, yo, we want to take Patrick Mahomes. They said, cool, we'll trade with you. The Bills for Patrick Mahomes got Tre'Davious White, Tremaine Edmonds, and Josh Allen. The Chiefs should be looking at this as, we got hosed by the Buffalo Bills. Not the reverse. The Bills got hosed by the Chiefs. You got hosed. Because if you're telling me right now the Chiefs couldn't use a Pro Bowl corner? Absolutely could. Stone Cold linebacker? Their defense sucks. Oh, and a quarterback who's just as good as the guy you have. So GM this shit up.
So bringing this back to baseball for a second. Sorry, anybody who doesn't like the Buffalo Bills. If you're the GM of the Mets, okay, and let's say this coming year for funsies, you have put in the youth. We are the youngest team in baseball now.
Yep.
What is in your head as you're sitting down to make this? And let's say you're the GM for the next 10 years. How many years are you looking at that group until it's time for you to do it again and flip the script?
The numbers tell me.
Okay. You don't look at it as bring these guys up and let's go all in for 3 years and then reevaluate, or is there any time frame you'd consider?
I'll do it anyway. So I'll Ricky Bobby it.
Sure.
Right. So in fantasy football, I'm a Ricky Bobby. Right. My man over here knows. Right. Dennis is in a league with me. I will make the reckless trade. I'll overthrow people in, and I'll you're either first or last because you play it to win the game. Mm-hmm. Right. If I'm coming in, like you look at the Yankees, and I say about the Yankees all the time, the Yankees are built to win games in a regular season and then lose in the playoffs. You know what you get? A team that makes a lot of money every year, but will not win because they won't rip the Band-Aid off and just do the thing.
Yep.
In my head, I know I have infinity money, right?
Yes, you do.
Well, Uncle Steve.
Yes.
So if I want to shoot a shot financially, and I bring a sound plan that makes sense, I have whatever money I want to spend. So I have no downside for any of the decisions I make. But I look at him and I say, yo, I don't look at this team right now and say I know enough about the team that we're 1 or 2 signings away to being elite and being able to compete with these guys for championships. Second, how much worse do we think we are than the Atlanta Braves?
Not much. We walked into the season thinking we were better.
So, if I don't think I'm that far, I really just need to inject youth that's cheap onto this team, right? Like,
would you ever spend big money?
Oh yeah, big money. I'm here for the title. Like I'm here for Titletown. Like I'll spend away. But you gotta tell me.
But not yet.
I just personally don't believe that you're spending money in the right spots. I would
what
never
would you spend big money on?
I will spend big money on pitching.
Okay.
And a top 10 player.
Top 10 prospect or top
player?
10 player. Okay.
Player. Like there's no amount of money. Like if I could go back in time and I can pitch guys stuff, right?
Would you trade for Tyler Glasnow right now?
No.
Okay.
I would trade.
Because they said he is on the trade block.
I would trade Jacob deGrom right now. Like we've had this conversation.
Yes, we have.
Like if you told me that I look and I go back and I use it just because it's a simple idea in my head and I don't know enough about everybody's prospects and organizations. Mm-hmm. If I looked at the Mariners, who feel like they're on the cusp. And I said that I'll take Justin Dunn, Jared Kelenic back, right? And another prospect for the best pitcher in baseball. And they do it. I'll do it tomorrow.
That's
right?
crazy.
It
better be their best prospect other than Jared Kelenic.
My biggest thing is that I'm looking at my circumstances with Jacob deGrom, and there's this window that's open, but money is not my problem. So if I have any pitcher, right? If I have any pitcher that's available financially on the market that I want, I can have. Mm-hmm. So, like, pitching is the easiest thing for me to overpay for.
Yeah.
In all of baseball.
Yep.
So why am I investing? Why would I not look at this and say, let me reset my payroll on my pitcher, right? Because if I take Jake, and Jake's cheap as a elite prospect, if you trade Jake, right, and I re-sign Syndergaard because I look at Syndergaard and I go late 20s, like if I sign him for 5 years after this, because he's 28 now, right?
Something like that. But yes, I agree. He's in the past been a top 3 pitcher in the league.
So if I look at that and I say, okay, let's see how Cindy is back, right? Let's see where he's at. I got Tyler McGill. I got Carrasco. Where is my other stuff? But if I could go back in time, I didn't understand why we let Zach Wheeler go.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, like, when we all talked about this, so now Zach Wheeler's a stud. That's where you didn't spend money and you needed to. Mm-hmm. Right? Like
different ownership, different.
For sure. But, like, that's a moment where I would have said there's no amount of money that I wouldn't pay my guy.
Absolutely.
I know you. You know me. I love you. How much will he dig for me because I kept him and I tried? He got you. Oh, you got that much money from the Phillies? Great. Here's $3 million more per year. How old Syndergaard?
29.
Right? Like, I look at that and I say, hey, I don't know what he's going to want, but I know right now, top of my head, if I even wanted to buy out this season, if I told him I'll sign you for 5 years, $22 million a year, he might take it. Mm-hmm. Right? Because he doesn't know what he is coming back. This year's 18. Cash on top. He might want to risk it, but he might not. He might look at it and be like, yo, I'm going to get a $110 million contract. We can make the fifth year an option. Right? We can make 3 years, 2-year player option. He can pick up, he can turn down. Cool. You have your guaranteed money with us. You have the choice to choose if you want to stay. If you want to leave 3 years from now, reset yourself in. He's 32. But I have the money.
Yeah.
If he's great, here's the money.
Yeah, I think if we're going by your builds, yes, spending big money on pitching, that will cover up for the fact that the youth might not be excellent at the plate yet. But they also could be.
That's my thing.
But that's where I would allow for the boom or bust to happen because you know your pitching staff will have a 3-5
What
ERA.
am I getting? What am I getting for Dom Smith, and what am I getting for J.D. Davis?
I think the better question is what do you get packaging them together?
Whatever you want, right? Whatever you want to say. I'm going to send 2 guys who recently have hit 800 OPS seasons, right? Who are both in their 20s still. Mm-hmm. They're both under team control, right? I'm going to trade you those guys. What are you giving me? What am I getting for Jeff McNeil, the lost man in our conversation today? So let's say that I get back some competent pitching, right? I get back some competent pitching from a team who's overpitched, under bat, right? Who's a team right now who's overpitched, under bat that we can think of on the top of our head? Brewers?
Sure. Yeah. Yes. Brewers.
Give me a pitcher. I'll give you 2 bats. All right? I'll overpay for your pitcher. Mm-hmm. People can tell me all days, oh, you got hosed. Great. I can't find pitching as easily as I will build a hitter.
The Brewers is an interesting thing that you're saying there because they're actually a place where I could see you sending one of our veteran hitters and one of our youth like guys you'd want to put on the team, but like a Khalil Lee, for example, because they have an aging Lorenzo Cain, and I could see you trying to pull off of Woodruff or a Corbin there. I don't know. I know you want to do that, but I'm saying if you wanted to,
I don't know.
Corbin Burns.
The Mets need to see what these guys have, what they have in their minor league system. No team has been worse at figuring out what they have in recent years than the Mets to me. The Mets have been great at finding talent, drafting it, and getting it to MLB level. They have been terrible at getting it to their team.
I mean,
Justin Turner.
Yeah.
Daniel Murphy.
But we had McNeil, Alonso, Conforto, Dom Smith.
For sure.
Nito.
But that's my point. Like, but now we're in this mix where we need to make a move off of those guys, right? And
they're holding on to the last 5 years of pull-ups. Yes.
They gotta let some things go.
Yeah.
Like, you have to recognize that, hey, the way we're currently constructed, Conforto doesn't fit.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, we can't have every guy in our batting order bat 260 with an on-base percentage. I need a guy who can barrel the ball more. It was Jeff McNeil. He took crazy retraction. I got Javi. I have so much swing and miss in my lineup. I need other things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who those guys are going to be.
I need the last 2 months of the season, Javi, all next year.
Well, so let's say Javi's the player he's really been.
Yeah.
Right? Which is a mid-800 OPS guy who's dynamic on the base pass, great defender. We say that Lindor is the guy he is. Borderline MVP candidate. We say Pete's the guy that he's really been. Right? Which is one of the best power-hitting players in the whole game. Just there. We say Nimmo is who he is. Who's the best on-base percentage guy in baseball. Right? The homie just gets on base 40% of the time, 4 straight
Some
years.
of the best at bats in baseball.
Right?
Yeah.
So I have those guys already.
Mm-hmm.
I need to find some more outliers. And I think that's the thing that we're saying is like, I need to get my young guy up now. And I need to let go of the young guy I brought up 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Because I know what he is now. I need to see what the next guy is.
Mm-hmm. And you need to set that tone for moving forward. You know what you're getting with the Rays. You're in the Rays system. There's a very good chance you come up.
And
AAA,
what
easy.
they do great is they let guys go.
Yep.
And they say, hey, you know what? We got our stuff out of you. And yeah, we're going to take a small step back with this other guy. Mm-hmm. But it's going to allow us to take big steps forward in other areas. The Mets are about to, if they pay Conforto, they pay all these guys. Guys, there's no more progression. They're who they are.
Yep. That would definitely set them back to hold on to the entire lineup.
And the reality is that you just said it. I can pay for a Castellanos, and I can get better than any of these guys.
Mm-hmm.
So money's not my problem.
No.
I need to know where I need to spend my money. And right now, the Mets don't know where they need to spend their money. They know a couple guys, but they have a couple guys who are so much of a question mark that I just don't want to pay them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to give, like, Stroman was great for us this year. I don't want to give him 6 years, $50 million, $150 million. I don't think age 37 Stroman is going to be the guy that we're going to need when all our young guys are the dude. Like 5 years from now, Frankie Lindor is still early 30s. He's still in prime, right? I need more prime guys then. Well, how do you find prime guys? I need guys who are 23, 24, who are studs now, who will be a part of the empire. So my guy who, like Dom Smith, who was one of those guys, when we brought him up 4 years ago, he's just not the guy anymore.
Yep.
He can't play first base. Why am I still trying to hold on to this other stuff? And that's the thing that I think that you know what you have, so you're not going to get in trouble for keeping a guy who underperforms, who's performed before. Mm-hmm. If you worry, you're going to get in trouble for putting in a new guy who underperforms, who's never performed. And that's why young guys stay down and GMs suck.
Yeah. Well, we'll do a more in-depth GM episode. We'll get John on here, and
we'll get a special.
We'll get a special thing going. I'm sure we're going to do a lot of breakdowns because a lot of teams are going to be making moves this offseason. 2 more things, and then we can wrap this bad boy up. I want to get your thoughts on the NFTs for MLB. They're launching it this week. What do you think?
Did you see what I tweeted this morning?
Yes.
So,
and I agree.
Fanatics, which people might know for a variety of reasons, owns professional sports at this point to an infinity level. They just raised $100 million to make NFTs and then buy ownership in being able to sell them. Peyton Manning's involved. A few other people have invested into it. Peyton's making a hard play for it. I love that. That's great. NFTs are already a thing that every kid who listens to this show or watches or plays MLB The Show already knows about. Because if you have a card that you sell at auction on that game, you guys are selling an NFT. Because there's only a few of them that exist. They're rare. So you know how rare they are. And the use of them is only in this world. and only the person who has the token can do it. So NFTs are going to be a thing. What they will be, I do not know. How right now everybody buying them for tens of millions of dollars without any idea of how that's really going to play out. You're paying for future that I don't think exists, right? It's like you saying, hey, I'm going to buy one of the first Teslas for $250,000. And then they get to the point that they're actually being produced and you can buy one for $46K. Like, did you get hosed by buying it for $250,000? Yes. Were you wrong that it was a banger? No. But you paid 5-time premium for something that never could have gotten you to the value that you bought it for.
Right.
So, but looking at it, pro sports are moving into it. I love it. I think it's fantastic. MLB is going to make a whole bunch of money off of it. MLB The Show has been teaching kids how to do it. I think they're going to make this an opportunity for everybody to just make more money. They're going to catch a trend. But I think that what they're going to end up having to do to get to the metaverse version of this is that they're going to have to tie a real world aspect to what it is.
Right.
Right? So, like, here's how I really wish that this played out.
Okay.
You ready for me?
I'm ready.
Dennis has, like, this, like, obscure thing he likes, hockey.
Yeah.
And he can buy a Rangers NFT. Right? And he can buy, let's say Dennis is rich. Right? Well, not rich, just basic rich. And it's $100,000, right? And Dennis takes all his money that he has in every worldly possession and he buys this. He's got his NFT for $100K. That should also be, right, his season tickets. And that should also be that if he buys the Henrik Lundqvist NFT version, that he also gets to, do a meet and greet with Henrik every year, once a year, take photos, do everything else. Because he's the owner of the Henrik Lundqvist version, right?
Yep.
So he buys that for $100,000. How much are season tickets to go to the Rangers right now?
I don't know because I can't afford them.
Call it $25,000.
It's got to be less than that.
I'm just gonna say for fun. He's got box seats. Real
season
nice.
tickets to the Rangers.
Guys sitting on the glass.
Well, no, 25,000. Yeah, you're getting the big rocks.
Sitting on the glass, talking mad shit to TJ Oshie, letting him know.
Let's shrink it down. Let's say it's roughly $75 a game for 40 games.
It's gonna be more than that, most likely, but sure.
So round
I
about,
would say probably if you're calling it 41 games,
at 100 a game would be 4,100.
Yeah,
Cool, so
but
5,000.
I'm getting 2 tickets. You'd assume.
So my point is, he bought season ticket for $100,000 up front, but he has it for as long as he has the ticket.
Right.
So really, at that point in time, the team would have to look at it and be like, well, why? Well, so with NFTs, you also get a piece of the resale. So if Dennis buys it for $100,000, he gets to come in, he gets his great seat, he gets to hang out with Henrik, he gets to go in the locker room occasionally. He has special access because he owns it. Dennis then sells it for $1 million to somebody else. The Rangers get another $60K on top of that for selling it. Right? They off that $1 million, $60,000 of it goes to them because it's their possession. So they just got paid for season tickets all over again.
Yep.
But you're tying real world investment into what it's going to be. And I think that that's how teams are going to be able to allow a layer of love and affection and care for your team, that then you're one of only a few people who has it.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the real world aspect of how do you deepen the fans' affinity with the team.
Yep.
And like you're saying, it's still kind of up in the air as to how they'll do it, but I love that concept. And I look forward to seeing how they just keep laying it in. You get one of the new jerseys and whatever, and kind of all the different things that they can send out.
Because I talked about it with you two both when NFTs first started popping over a year ago, right? So now everybody's on the plane. We've been talking about this for a long minute. LeBron James sells a LeBron NFT that he wants to have 10 of them. And he puts them out for $10 million each, right? And he could make it that 10 people who buy it for $10 million each, which makes him $100 million in cash today. Those people get to have dinner with LeBron every year for perpetuity. And he has a whole big dinner that all these people get invited to, and they get to sit down, talk about business. He brings in a private chef. He has other friends. So you have other millionaires and people, and you get a whole behind-the-scenes day with LeBron every year, right? People will buy that easy.
It's interesting that you made that comparison, because like my first thought was like, would you get any weirdos that buy that? But you
Absolutely.
Well, I mean,
get weirdos,
you would for sure.
You got a $10 million weirdo.
Absolutely. So
it's a different kind of weirdo.
Absolutely. So I saw a video recently, and the guy was like, I bought a Bugatti, not because I want a Bugatti, but because I want to know the people who also have Bugattis, and like there's meetups, and there's all the other things that come with it, and it's the same concept.
Yep. We've always been able to recognize, why do people buy a Rolex for $10,000?
Well, a multitude of reasons.
But it's an investment, right?
Yes,
but
it
it
an
can
investment,
do this.
social flex.
But guess what? That's the same thing as an NFT.
Yeah.
The only difference is you have this thing on your wrist, and I have this thing that's on my phone, on a computer.
Yep.
But mine is a digital tracking code that says that I am the only possessor of this, right? Yours might be a fake. You got to go home and show me the paper.
Yep.
That says that it's real. I got to get it appraised. This thing, I have a thing that tells me it's the real thing. And I can carry that token with me wherever I want to go. I can have it validated quickly. You can use this for... He goes for his Rangers games. What does he do? He shows his NFT. Blip. Like, they know he's the guy. Right? He wants to go in the locker room. What pass does he get when he shows up? I'm here to pick up my press pass. What's your name? Dennis Dietz. Can I please see your NFT, sir? Shows it to him. He has limited access to the back. He sees the players coming in, says what's up to him, right? Gives a fist bump. They know who he is. He's a whale. He's a big fish. Does he feel, is this the greatest thing in the world for this super fan? Absolutely. Did they make great money off of it?
Absolutely.
Yep. If Dennis decides, hey, I'm at tough times, I got to sell my thing. He sells it. And the second, because there's only a few of them, he sells that mother effer for 100 times. He sells it for $10 million. They make money when he resells it. The
Rangers must have got really good in that time.
Rangers, right? Well, so again, when it starts to become that the things that are attached to it, not just the things attached to ownership, provide access above and beyond, and you know how many people have it, we can count. Bro, you now have a value. Why does a 99 like diamond Mike Trout sell for 1 million stubs on MLB The Show, and a 99 like Pete Alonso doesn't? Because one's more rare. We know how many people have it.
Yeah.
We know we can't get it. You're most likely never going to have this if you don't buy it from this person. This one person got lucky. The one person got lucky. If I want to get lucky, I have to pay for it. Dennis won the lottery. He got to buy it for the original posted price. He can then, after that, do whatever he wants for it. He can either make the financial reward or he can... But that's it. But now I'm not selling... I don't have a sales team selling my season tickets every year. Homie's selling his own NFT.
Yeah.
At the beginning of every year, somebody's got to show me the token when they come in. Like, that's your deal.
Yeah. Very excited to see how this unfolds.
But I love it's another way that people are going to make money, and I'm interested to see how it plays into real world stuff.
Yeah, I think the creative aspect of how people will kind of piece that all together will be very cool. Guys, we're coming down. I would say we have like 1 or 2 podcasts left before this season is complete. How do you guys feel? Do you feel like I feel like we've made a ton of progress here.
On the podcast?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I wish all the time that more people were watching. Just because we're historically right, like all the effing time.
Yeah.
And like you guys could make money if you just bet on what we've said.
Oh, if you put some good money on Stros Braves.
Can we have found out like what the MVP odds were for Ohtani before the season? And if we had said if you had invested $1,000 in Ohtani stock to start the year, what would be your return? Because I would say right now that it had to have been that you were going to make 50 times your money?
It's possible. I'm sure the odds weren't like ridiculously low.
50 times is not that low.
No, but I'm saying like there was probably like a good chance, or like at least up there. Like obviously Trout's what do you got?
So he opened the season plus 1,100 to win the award. He was at plus 500 when May began. He went to 130 at the beginning of June, plus 105 at the end of June, and now when is this from? You get the point. He's gotten
I
a
get
lot
the
You
better.
put $100 at the beginning of the season, you'd be okay.
You $100 would have gotten you 1,100, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's how that math works, right? So if you had invested $1,000, you would have made $11,000 on the bet.
Oh, now he's minus 350. That's what it is.
It's
He's
more
all-
than that. I'm pretty
yeah.
sure plus 1,100 is even more than that.
No, I think that's what that means. I'm not like into betting, so I can't.
Neither am I.
I'm almost positive that is what that means. If you put $100 and you'd win.
Pay out
1100.
on plus 1,100 on a
I'm
$1,000 bet.
pretty sure he's correct, and now you'd have to spend $350 in order to get $100.
Yes.
Okay. I have a calculator that I now have pulled up.
Somebody's listening to this like, you guys don't bet? Why don't you know this stuff?
Because it's not legal in New York.
Yes.
It should
New
be,
York's
though.
missing out on a bunch of money. They'll figure it out one day. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Bet 100, make it 1,100.
Cool. No, bet 1,000. So if you would listen to our podcast
Bet
at the
1,000,
start of
make
the year,
11,000.
you bet $1,000 on my prediction of Ohtani, you would have made $11,000 in profit on your $1,000 bet.
Right.
You would have gotten $12,000 back on your. So if everyone had been listening to this podcast from the start of the year, you all would be much richer now.
So guys,
richer than even if you had invested in Bitcoin.
Full disclosure, do not always do that, please.
Do not always. This
is not financial advice.
This is by no means financial advice, and you should never listen to me. I'm not a paid professional for this. This is all opinion.
Yeah. But guys, I'm super happy with how we've done this year. I
it.
look forward so much to next year. I think we got a lot of great stuff planned. It's going to be awesome.
I'm looking forward to the new space.
Yeah, me too. I would like to take you guys out to dinner after the season has completed. Talk shop, just kind of concoct stuff.
He's buying me dinner? This is a first.
Buying both of you guys dinner.
Wow.
And just figure out what we're going to do for next year, because for everybody listening, watching, I want to put out a great product for you guys. I think we have said a lot of great things and go into next year with all of that in mind and keep building on it and put out some great shows.
Season 2 is going to be a banger.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, fire me up. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Make sure you like and subscribe. Let us know what you thought of the episode, and we'll see you next time.
Baseball lifestyle, it's my lifestyle.